Right, champs, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom, and today we are talking about goals. And I'm not going to tell you how to do goals, set goals, and achieve them. I'm just going to show you what my plans are for how I'm going to do my goals. And if you don't know who I am, if maybe you're new to the channel, hey, my name's Tom, and I help coaches and consultants scale past 20K per month in profit, because we don't just fuck around with revenue here. We want profit, money in our pockets. And today we're going to be talking actually about that stuff. But first, I kind of wanted to tell you a little story, because I kind of figured out why I do everything the other day. And it actually starts with my very first memory. This actually hit me like a ton of bricks. It must have been 2 days ago now. And I realized, I was like, why do I do everything? Why have I told multiple bosses in my life to fuck off? Why have I always been the person to get into trouble? Why do I like breaking rules? Why do I hate authority? Why did I never want a job? Why did I hate commuting to work? Why did I hate being in an office? Why did I do all of this shit that I have done? And I figured it out. And I'm not going to preface this by saying I'm a superhero, but if you think back to any superhero story, you've got Spider-Man. Why did he, and I mean, apart from getting bitten by the spider, he had the situation where his uncle died, got killed. You had Superman, his dad, always his adopted dad, his kind of foster dad, his dad died. And then there's these origin stories of why these superheroes became who they became. And the truth is, I ain't no superhero, but I definitely now have realized that I have somewhat of an origin story. So I'm going to tell it to you now. It actually starts when I was just 3 years old. I must have been about 3, maybe 4, who knows. I was small and I was at nursery school. So in the UK, this is where you go to school. Before you go to your first school, you go to a little nursery where there are loads of little other babies and stuff floating about. And I remember this time, and turns out this is my very, very first memory. When people ask you the question, what was your first memory? I just figured out the other day that this is my first memory. And turns out this is the reason I do absolutely everything, and why I have done absolutely everything. And again, for those of you guys that don't know what I do, a year ago I used to have an SMMA agency, which we were doing 40K per month, and it sucked. There was no freedom. I had no choice over what we were doing. We were using fucking shit tactics that didn't work to get to try and get leads for our business, and it absolutely sucked. And I was the sickest I've ever been, as in the unhealthiest I've ever been, vaping every day, drinking every night. For the first time in my adult life, I was fucking overweight, which sucked. And a year later, now I'm fucking jacked. But I'm back to what I always wanted to be, which is peak physical condition, working out every day, 20,000 steps every day, having the freedom to do whatever the hell I want. So why have I managed to get to that position in just a year? Well, we're going to touch on that in a little bit. I'm going to show you exactly what I've done to get to this position. But first, let me explain why I behave in the way I behave. So I was in nursery, and I remember this time, this first time, my first memory. I always my mum always said that I was a very happy kid. I was always a really joyful, happy. I wasn't cranky, didn't cry, wasn't a little shit. I was really happy. And I remember one time I stood up in nursery, and it must have been towards the end of the day or whatever. And I stood up and I threw my arms out and I span round. I span round with my arms out because I was fucking happy. I was super, super happy, and I wanted to celebrate the end of the day. Well, turns out when I stood up and I flung my arms around in a circle, I accidentally clipped another kid in the face, maybe poked him in the eye or whatever. Of course, the kid starts crying, and all of a sudden, the nursery assistant, whoever was looking after us, tells me to go and stand in the corner and that I've been naughty, and so I need to go stand in the naughty corner. And I remember being like, at the time, turns out this was my first what the fuck moment, because there I was, an extremely like happy, joyful, cheerful child who was celebrating life, all of a sudden was being told, go sit in the naughty corner, stand with your face against the wall because you are a naughty child. And like, I was like, this makes no sense. How have I, who is someone who had no like malintent, no bad intent, just wanted to celebrate, have fun, whatever, how am I all of a sudden being punished? Now, turns out that I was unable to make the link between being punished and doing stuff accidentally, because I was like, this was an accident. So from that moment onwards, I decided subconsciously that I fucking hate authority, because authority made no sense to me. So this turns out that this is my origin story. And what happened is that fast forward 20 years later, 22 years later, I had my first job as a dentist. I just studied at university for 8 years, and I was towards the end of my first year of being a dentist, where everyone in the UK, every dentist, brand new dentist in the UK, needs to go through their first year of training. And I got to the end of my first year, and all of a sudden my kind of like my trainer, the person who is my boss, was like, okay, like you've now done all these things. We now need to get you faster so you can start making me more money. And I was like, I remember sitting next to her, because she essentially, she was good. She would have made more money. The more work I did, the more money she made. So she very blatantly asked me to misdiagnose and overtreat patients. And to say that I was triggered was an absolute fucking understatement, because I got into dentistry because I wanted to help people. I wanted to do the very, very best that I could for that person. So when someone came to me and was like, hey, you need to consider doing things unethically so that you can make me more money and I can get another car. And I was like, huh, okay. And I remember she was sat next to me at the time. This was in my surgery. And I was, like 8-9 months into my job, and I had 3 months left of this 1-year contract. And she was like, sat next to me, and she was like, look, Tom, going great. Time for you to like crank up the volume. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, you need to start doing more treatments. And I'm like, well, I'm currently treating what I need to treat. And she was like, yeah, but she basically, I can't remember the exact words, because a switch flicked. I literally saw red, and I turned to her and I said, you can fuck off. Now, imagine saying that to your very first boss, and keep in mind, she is the one that she was the one that would have had to sign me off to be able to say that I was able to go and practice. So I saw like rage, and I told her, you can fuck off. And she didn't like that. She did not like that one bit. And she, of course, immediately was like, I can't work with you anymore. Like, it was very raw. And she was like, I'm calling the dean, the deanery, the people who basically like you're the one contracted to. So essentially the people who would sign me off. And she was like, I'm not going to work with you anymore. And I was like, fuck, okay, this is bad. And I remember this guy immediately came to the practice within an hour, and he had to mediate this situation between us. And me and him got on very well. Like, this is a guy who could see that I really cared. And he was a super, super lovely guy called Dave. And I would consider him one of my kind of like mentors. But he knew I'd fucked it. He knew that I was fucked. And that he was like, Tom, like, look, it's your word against hers. And in the way this plays out, her word is always going to win. And you've done something extremely unprofessional. And I'm there being like, I think I may have just thrown my previous 8 years down the drain in one moment. And I remember saying to him, I was like, well, like, obviously I was freaking out. And I was like, well, what can I do? And he's like, you're going to have to apologize. And if she accepts the apology and says that she is okay to work with you, can you continue? Otherwise, dude, you're fucked. And I was like, I remember just thinking, shit. Okay, this is it then. This is it. So she came in, she was still fuming, and she was like, I can't work with you anymore. Like, you've just completely like voided this professional relationship. And I had to metaphorically get on my hands and knees and beg. And, you know, an hour later or whatever, after like discussion and mediation, I was like, I had to roll over, put up my hands and say, I was wrong. I completely screwed up. What you were saying was right. I'm completely wrong. I'm sorry. And I had to roll over, and that sucked. Eventually she was like, okay, there's a couple of months, there's 8 weeks left. She knew that if she could have fucked my career if she wanted to. She knew it was in her hands. So she didn't. And she let me work for the next 8 weeks. Needless to say, the next eight weeks were extremely tension-filled, to say the least. And eventually he started working again for those last 8 weeks. But that is the story of when I told my first boss to fuck off. And I realized that over everything in my life, the most sacred thing and sacred value for me is freedom. And this hit me in the last couple of months, where I realized that the life I always dreamed of when I worked in offices, when I worked in all of the different jobs I've worked in before, when I'd have to commute 2-3 hours a day to go to work and to come home, to never have time to do anything, I realized that over absolutely everything, freedom is my number one value. Like, that is the thing that is most sacred to me. And the last couple of months, I've realized that I live the life of my dreams. Like, you know, the things that I get to do on a daily basis, which is I structure my mornings how I want. I structure my afternoons how I want. I take 2.5 hours in the middle of the day to go to the gym, go for a run, do what I love doing. I go for walks in the afternoon. When I do my calls, I go for walks. And so I am living the life that I always dreamt of. And I'm extremely grateful for that. And I want to help as many people as possible also get to experience what I'm super grateful for experiencing. And I'm really lucky. I've managed to help a number of people quit their jobs over the last like 9 months or so since I founded CreatorLaunch. We've taken people, we'll go through, you know, you're going to see these case studies over the couple of next few months. But yeah, I just wanted to preface what you're about to see by explaining to you why this means so much to me, why this means everything to me. And with that said, let us talk about goals and where I am planning to take CreatorLaunch next. There is actually a video on my YouTube channel, which if you just go look back 9 months, you'll go see it. And this was my original game plan for CreatorLaunch. Now, the truth is, it has not changed. I've actually just delivered on what that roadmap was. And now I'm doing some small tweaks to make it even more potent, get better results for my students, and ultimately help me craft the life that I have always dreamt of. And it now starts with setting a milestone goal of where I want to get to next. And that is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about getting to our next milestone, which is our target monthly income. Now, this is actually something that I first heard about when I read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss 12 years ago. This was the book that originally got me into wanting to be an entrepreneur. And I remember doing the exercise back then, which is you essentially just do some calculations to figure out how much money you're going to make, or how much money you want to make to get your dream lifestyle. So how much would your dream apartment cost? How much would your dream house cost? How much would your dream car cost to rent in a month? And you just add up these calculations over the month and you figure out a target for where you want to get to. Now, this is really important because most people, and I've fallen into this trap before, which is like, okay, the milestones are I need to get to 10K a month, I need to get to 20K a month, I need to get to 50K a month, I need to get to 100K a month. Those are just arbitrary goals. Now, if you have arbitrary goals, then you're not going to be motivated to push towards them like you were if they were meaningful goals. So I'm going to show you just the methodology that I've used to create my target monthly income, and I'm going to drop the document for you so you can do this yourself. So let's dive into how to find your target monthly income. Right, champ. So welcome to, this is just a note that I have within my Creator OS Notion dashboard. So you can get a free download down below in the description. This is the system that I used, that I created. It took me like 3 years of playing around to figure out how I could have a system that just gives me absolutely everything. So yeah, this is a free Notion template that I use. It has got absolutely everything in here. It's got my vision board, it's got my goals, my projects, my content calendar. It's got absolutely everything. It's got my note taking. It's got my everything you need to manage and create your ideal creator life. But what we're going to talk about is talking about target monthly income. So like I said, this is a concept that came from Tim Ferriss. And now I feel like, because I'm a full-time entrepreneur, I can actually have a target monthly income and do the things that I need to do to be able to get to that target monthly income. Now, what I've done is I've started by just designing a rough design of what my dream life should be, I want my dream life to be. So these are the things that are most meaningful to me. You know, a huge thing is making sure that my parents are financially comfortable. That is probably, you know, outside of getting my financial comfort, making sure that they are financially comfortable. And the truth is, like, with everything that's happened in the last few years with inflation and essentially hyperinflation, like, life is not easy for kind of pensioners and people who are at retirement age. So I'm going to do everything I can to help them and make sure that they are completely comfortable during their retirement years. Then, you know, these are onto my things. So I want to be able to spend some of the winter in the Alps. Like, the Alps for me are, I've lived two winters in the Alps, and to me the Alps are like one of my happy places. And I want to be able to have the flexibility and the option to live in the Alps for however many weeks, months, whatever the fuck I want. I want to live there. So I've kind of ballparked how much money would I need to be able to make that like a reality. Like, how much would I need? And it's like probably 10K for a month, like, to be able to do that. Like, that's how much I would need to be able to afford the stuff that I want to do when I'm living there. Then there's like some ballpark things I want to be able to do. I want to be able to take my family on vacation. So how much is that going to cost me? Ballpark, 10K. I want to be able to have my own penthouse apartment. How much is that going to cost me? I'm going to need about 10K to be able to just move in as a deposit. Then I'm going to have rent. How much is that going to be? 4, 6K, whatever that's going to be. Then a big thing for me is I want to be able to host my first winter retreat mastermind for my CreatorLaunch students. And how much is that going to cost? Maybe around 15K. Who knows? Again, we're just working off ballpark figures here. Then I'm going to buy a new car. I've had a bunch of cars in my past. I've had very interesting stories with cars you'll hear about in the future. But get a new car. How much is that going to cost? About 20K. So I need about 20K cash. Then being able to give away 10% of my income. Be able to account and give away to charity 10% of my income. Set aside money each month to build my 100K emergency fund. How much money do I want to put away in my emergency fund? The answer is as much as possible to get that up as big as possible. And as soon as that is filled, that then goes into investment funds. And then being able to go on really nice holidays once per quarter. So look, I'm balling out here. How much is that? How much do I want to be able to have, like, to put away for that? Eventually I want to get to where I'm spending 20K on a holiday. Fuck it. Like, that's just where I want to get to. So this is just kind of adding some stuff up, like just ballpark numbers. How much is this going to cost per month? How much do I need to add together in a month to be able to do the shit that I want to do? This is going to change for you. If this is just my list. And then putting this into a spreadsheet, like rent, family fund, travel, fun fund, emergency fund, crypto fund, education coaching fund, car, food, eating out, clothes, the big chunky things. And how much do I want in a month to be able to invest into each of those different elements of my life? 5K for rent, 2K for family, 5K for travel, 2K for fun fund, 10K for an emergency fund, 10K into crypto, 6K into my education, 2K into car, 2K into food, 1K into eating out, 1K into clothes. These are just ballpark. This is a ballpark budget to be able to say, okay, well now, what does this add up to? What do I need to make to be able to get this? Now, this is in pounds. So if we go down, so let's say my target monthly income, this is cash into my pocket. So this is post-tax, post-profit. So let's just say 40% tax. So at 40% tax, I need to be making 76K to be able to get 46K into my pocket. So, so 46, how the fuck have I done this math here? Okay, I'm going to have to go and look back on these numbers. I'm not going to you never do public maths. Never do public math. So I'm guessing that's actually, so, okay. If you include, tax on this, it's going to be 76K, and then like including 90% profit margin. So that's one of the constraints of my business, which I'm going to get to in a second. Then that adds up to 84K, which is $106,329 US. Now I have that now on my phone, on my screen, on my lock screen on my phone in big, large numbers, 106,329 US. So every time I open my phone, I'm getting reminded of my target and my goal. And this time it's meaningful. Instead of it just being 100K a month, now I have a personal and personally meaningful goal. Okay, how are we going to fucking do this? Let's get into the good stuff. Okay, now the biggest problem that people make when building and designing their business is that they don't build their business and design their business with constraints in mind. So what happens is they build someone else's business. And when you build someone else's business, you end up putting yourself in a position where you're like, well, shit, I have put myself into this hole and I hate the fucking hole. So what can we do instead? We can build a business with constraints based around our preferences. These are going to be my preferences. You may relate to these, so let's talk about them. Now, my aim is to achieve my target monthly income of $106,329 with these constraints. No calls in the morning. I already have that done. 2 hours in the middle of the day for working out. I already have that done. Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoons are for client delivery. I already have that done. Sales calls to DM closing. This is something that I'm going to be working at over the next year, is migrating my sales process from one where I need to take sales calls to DM closing. This is fully reliant on marketing, and this is going from a kind of marketing first company, from a sales first company to a marketing company. There are pros and cons to each. But when I'm thinking about how do I want to optimize my day, and which is the aim is to get to less than 20 hours per week to focus on hobbies, other projects, and life. If I'm going to be spending time on calls, I want to be spending time on calls helping my clients get results, not on sales calls. So I know there are other businesses out there. There are other people out there who are doing sales via DMs. And that is one of the benefits of you being able to watch videos like this, where you get to know, like, and trust me, where if you want what I have, you just tell me. So, and I'm going to literally show you what I have, so you can, if you want to get involved. Okay, so these are my constraints. The aim is to do less than 20 hours per week so I can focus on my other hobbies and other projects. So just so that you're aware, my aim is to have a suite of micro businesses built around my hobbies. One is education and marketing. That is this. That is CreatorLaunch. That is what my biggest main hobby is this. I fucking love it. My second hobby is golf. So I want to build I want to eventually get into golf content. So that's going to be one of my other hobbies. Then my other hobbies is skiing and music, and I'm going to mix those two together. Golf might include fashion, which is kind of one of the other things that I'm interested in. And then finally is, so music and skiing are probably going to be together. I've already got an idea. I already know what project I want to roll out with that. And then golf is going to be content creation and my journey of becoming the best golfer that I can be. So really looking forward to putting time into that. But it means I have to have time to be able to put into that. So that is what we're going to do by crafting this dream lifestyle business. No weekends, no work past 6 p.m. Crucial. And this is where I feel like I've gone through my period. I do think there's a period in your entrepreneurial journey where this is not the case. You only earn the right to be able to do this by going through and slaying the dragon of how do you get out of your 9 to 5, build your own business. And that is by working the evenings, working the early mornings, working the weekends. I've done that for 3 years now. And I have now in this position where I've built the escape velocity where I don't have to do that shit. And the whole potency around it is that it gets you thinking smarter rather than harder. Blunt force is needed at the beginning, and that is what you're going to need to reach some sort of escape velocity. But once you reach escape velocity and you have a foundation built, a deep, broad foundation that you've built with just blunt force, trauma and effort and hard work, that is when we move to smart work, hiring, delegation, and building a lean business. This is the other constraint. Let's talk about this. So this is 80% plus profit margin, which means lean team. So really looking at like 3 times employees. And right now that's looking like a VA, appointment setter, and a content management team. So that could be split between a couple of people, to be honest, like an editor and then a content manager. But that is what I'm looking at to get me to my target monthly income. So how are we going to do this? With one simple flywheel. So this is what you will see moving forward. And this is the distillation of all of the lessons that I've learned building my business over the last years, that one of my core values at CreatorLaunch is simple scales, complex fails. Everything I know, my tendency is to try and over-engineer, overcomplicate things. So I'm always thinking, how can I get things simpler? How can I make things easier? Because I know the easier and simpler they are for me, the easier and simpler they are going to be for you and my students and my clients and my customers. So my one simple flywheel approach. This is breaking down the entire creator business and breaking it down into what I believe are 4 systems. So the first system is based around leads. Second is around nurturing leads. Third is around converting them into customers. And the fourth is converting those customers into clients and getting results with those clients. So how do we do that? We do that with 4 systems. We have a leads attraction system. We then have a customer creation system. We have a client conversion system. And then we have a value delivery system, which feeds back into the leads attraction system. This is the evidence that we put through into here. So how do we do that? We have 4 mechanisms. So the first one to our leads attraction system is our one simple ad protocol. That is where we run one simple ad on Instagram. It's what I've been doing for 9 months. It's what like my students like Jake recently made 42K in profit in the last 16 weeks through running this system. This shit is, in my opinion, is the easiest way to scale a coaching or consulting business in 2024. So we have one simple ad that goes into, that drives leads into one simple community, which is my CreatorLaunch community on Skool. I've got 1,000 people in here. If you're not a member already, you bloody well should be. It's free. Then we have one simple video. This is our video sales letter that helps convert customers into clients. And then we have one simple offer. This is our delivery mechanism. This is our delivery mechanism that helps get people banging results. And then you get case studies, which you turn back into content, and you keep running this one simple ad. Tell me this isn't fucking sick, because it is sick. It is sick. Okay, where do we do this? We do this on these platforms. One simple ad on Instagram, one simple community on Skool, and we use email as well. One simple video on YouTube, and we do one simple offer. That is our private client community on Slack. This is ninja shit. I love it. Okay. This is where we get into the detail. So this is each system broken down. So this is our first. We've got the objective of growing an audience of perfect future clients. This is the absolute elegance of our one simple ad protocol, because the leads attraction system, this brings perfect future clients. The way it works, it brings perfect future clients into your audience. So you build an audience of perfect future clients because we run Instagram follow ads. These are very specific ads where our request is for people to do something which is low friction, which is to follow us if they are interested in what we do and what we teach. And what we do is we then convert those new followers into leads through a variety of mechanisms. Lead magnets, YouTube videos, newsletter, cheat sheets, free courses, free communities. And that is how we get a new lead, which is an email from a random person on the internet. Okay, next, once we've got a new lead, we need to turn them into a community member. So we do this through, the objective is getting leads into customers. So we have a customer creation system. Now, the objective is to turn a lead into someone who votes with their dollars by getting a credit card out and saying, I want to see a little piece of the pie. And what this is this is not turning a lead into a client, which is a high ticket, high paying client. This is someone who's gonna cross the trust tripwire by buying a very low ticket, low friction product, seeing a peek behind the curtains to see what you're all about. And we do this through paid workshops, email one-time offers, DM follow-ups to see if people are interested in becoming a customer. So then we go from a new lead to a new customer. That is our customer creation system. We then want to turn a new customer into a new client. This is where someone goes from paying with a small amount in dollars to a large amount as a high ticket client. And we do this through one simple video. This is our video sales letter framework that we use. And like I said, the objective is to turn a customer into a client. We do this through a bunch of different mechanisms. We have one simple document that we use that showcases our entire offer. We can send to people who are interested in becoming clients. But typically we don't want to, there's a caveat here, is we don't want to send this document out to everyone. Only people who have specifically said that they are interested in what we want to do. Okay, we then have an appointment setting script. So this is to be able to get people onto sales calls. It's really important that we maximize the sales call show rate by doing a pre-call workflow. This is a series of automations and videos that we have to prep people before a sales call, because that is half the job is getting someone to agree to a call. The second half is getting them on the call. So we then have a sales call script to convert them into a client. Then we get them into them as a client. Then what we do is we move on to our value delivery system. This is when we turn a client into a case study. And we do that through one simple offer. So instead of having loads of different fucking, ninja offers going around, we've got one simple core offer that you offer. And what we do is, instead of having different types of outcomes, we have different levels of access. So the way we do it is we have either one-on-one access, so people get one-on-one access with me, or they have community access, where they get access to a private community alongside the resources that are going to help them along their journey to get the main objective, which is the new case study. Okay, let me go one layer deeper into our value delivery system. So this is my value delivery. This is value delivery system, and this is what I call an access stack. So this is our access stack at CreatorLaunch. This right here, if anyone's like, how do I work with you, Tom? I'm going to say to them, you choose your own adventure, pal. You choose how you want to work with me, because you got three options. So the first one is being a member of our private community. Our CreatorLaunch University, which is here. This is free. So this is free, and this is for people who want to get to the first 10K. So I have a fundamentals course that helps them get there. How many members is this going to be for? As many as who wants to join. The key is, though, I won't let people join if they are not the right fit. So people have to put in an application when they join CreatorLaunch University, and if you're not the right fit, I ain't going to fucking let you in. So duration. This is just going to be open. You can stay for as long as you want. You can leave whenever you want. How is this going to be delivered? This is a do-it-yourself delivery mechanism. So you have self-directed learning resources, and they're hosted on the platform Skool, and the investment is zero. It is free, you lucky bastards. So there's a 6-hour course in there for you for free. And I know most of you won't take it because you are not winners, okay? Winners would take it. Okay, next up, we have then the 2 levels of access for my, this is our launch growth infrastructure. Now, there are 2 ways to work with me on this. And this is for people who are freedom creators like me, people who, above everything else, they want freedom to do whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, with whomever they want. This is for them. Now, there are 2 levels for this. There is the private community, or there is the one-on-one mentorship. So with the private community, you get access to all of the resources. So all of the premium resources that we have, which is the growth infrastructure to get you to 20K per month plus in profit. And that is the same for this level. But with the one-on-one, you get one-on-one mentorship with me. And the way this works is we're going to cap this. So only 50 people we're going to have in the community at one time, and only 20 one-on-one students are going to be working with me at one time. This is where the duration differs. So with the community, it is a 12-month commitment. You have to commit to 12 months. You can leave anytime, but if you leave, you ain't allowed to come back for another 12 months. With one-on-one, it is a 16-week implementation commitment. This is where I help you one-on-one over 16 weeks implement the entire growth infrastructure that I've used to grow my business and that I've helped my students grow their business. And, you know, again, spoiler alert, it is, I help you do this. I help you build all of this. This is what I help you build in the 16 weeks. So if you really want to turbocharge things, you go for that option. And the difference between the private community and the one-on-one is that the private community is do it yourself and done with you. I will do it with you via group calls. So I have weekly office hour group calls and a private Slack kind of community Slack channel where you can ask questions and you can be part of the community. And that is going to be hosted. The resources are on Skool and the private community is on Slack. And the investment is going to be a weekly or a prepaid discount. So you can either pay weekly via invoice, or that's where I finance it for you. So if you join, I finance your year by saying you can just pay me back every week. That's what that is. Or if you want to get a discount, you can prepay in full upfront. And then the 16-week implementation commitment is done with you. This is do it yourself, done with you, and done for you. There are some done for you components that I will help people with, which is I will help literally write their ad scripts for them. So shit like that. That is going to be, again, resources on Skool, private access to me, the one-on-one Slack channel with me. And again, same method is a weekly financing. So I finance this for you, so you can pay me weekly over the 16 weeks, or you can get a prepaid discount, pay in full upfront, and you're happy because you saved some money, and we're good to go. And that, my friends, is my value delivery system, and that is enough for today. And if you want to know a little bit more about our one simple ad approach, there is a full breakdown in the video that I'm going to put up there above me in that corner, our one simple ad protocol where you can go do this yourself. And yeah, that was fucking sick. I'll see you in the next one.